I had 2 days in León to find footwear for Paris, and if I couldn't find the right people, there was going to be something missing from this collection. I'm 6 weeks away from Paris, and at this point, every detail matters. The clothes are only part of the story. I have to think about the entire look, the styling, the accessories, the footwear, everything that walks onto the runway has to feel like Phantom Rose. And that's what brought me to León, Guanajuato. SAPICA is one of the biggest footwear and leather trade shows in Latin America. So instead of searching from behind a screen, I decided to go directly to the people making it. There was one problem. I have never done this before. The night before my flight, I went to see Santana. Probably not the calmest way to prepare for a business trip, but after the concert, I felt creatively charged. A few hours later, the energy was going to be tested. I booked the flight without choosing a seat, which was my first questionable decision. Somehow, I ended up with a good one. Then we hit a storm. The plane started moving like a roller coaster, not exactly the glamorous beginning to the road to Paris I imagined, but eventually, we hit León. I grabbed my luggage, found my ride, which apparently required an unexpected 8-minute walk from the airport, and made it to the Airbnb. Changed, grabbed what I needed, and went straight to SAPICA. I came here with one goal: find a footwear company willing to work with Phantom Rose for Paris. Walking into a room filled with established companies when you're the one asking for an opportunity feels very different. I didn't know what they were going to say, and pretty quickly I got my first no. Then came the we'll reach out. Some did, some didn't, and that's part of this. You can design something you believe in completely and still have to convince people to believe in it with you. So I kept walking. I kept asking, kept introducing Phantom Rose, until finally somebody said yes. The book company was interested. Nothing is official yet. There are conversations to have, details to work through, and a collaboration still has to become real. So I'm not telling you who it is, not yet, but this could become part of what you see in Paris. And after an entire day of introductions, shoes, conversations, and more walking than I expected, I definitely needed food. I found a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. It was beautiful views, great atmosphere, and the service, they might have forgotten I existed for a little while. But after that day, I honestly didn't mind. Sat there, looked over León, and processed what just happened. I came here without knowing if anyone would take this seriously, and on day one, I already had a possible yes. Day two started with the glamorous side of fashion. I made an order to pick up water, juice, deodorant, and all the things I couldn't bring with me in the plane. Then I got ready to do it again. Going back to SAPICA. There was one company I was particularly excited to work with. They made hats, and I could already imagine how their work could coexist with the collection. I reached out and got nothing back. Left unseen. Honestly, that one hurt a little, but Paris isn't going to happen because everybody said yes. It's going to happen because I keep going after the ones who might. So I went back. At one point, I saw this massive crowd forming around one booth. I had no idea what was happening. Turns out they were unveiling new products, influencers were everywhere, and cameras were out. Beautiful chaos. And somehow I got to see the whole thing with unfold. I also listened to a few presentations, learned more about the industry, and continued meeting people. But because I had checked out my Airbnb that morning, I also was carrying another problem: my luggage. I found a hotel willing to hold it for me even though I wasn't staying there. Problem solved, at least one. After the talks and everything, I was hungry, so I stopped for lunch. And because my flight wasn't until later, I decided not to rush. I had good food, good service, and a moment to actually enjoy being in a city I had flown into almost entirely for just work. And then something happened that absolutely nothing to do with the reason I came to León. I walked into a store specializing in custom tuxedos. We started talking, and I left with the tailor's contact information and the possibility of creating custom tuxedos in the future. I came looking for shoes, I left thinking about tailoring. That's the strange part about building Phantom Rose right now. I'm starting to realize that sometimes the opportunity you're looking for isn't necessarily the one you'd find. Then it was time to come home, and I thought, great, back to the collection, back to sewing, back on schedule. Except real life had other plans. I needed to take my dogs to the vet. I expected it to be quickly, but 4 hours later, it was very much not quick. And just like that, I lost most of the day I was supposed to spend working on the collection. So now I'm 1 day behind. And Paris doesn't move because I'm behind. The date stays exactly where it is. This week started with music, took me across Mexico, gave me a few no's, one very important maybe, one possible yes, and opportunities I wasn't even looking for. But I came home with something more important than a finished checklist: momentum. I need to turn the momentum into a collection because we're 6 weeks away and there's still a lot to do. Next week, we're 1 week closer and 1 day behind.